good. Live streaming, which is good. I don't know why that would be, Johnny. Let's see.
When I sent him the link the first time, it had this weird little push command at the end of it. So now I'm just having one with a hash at the end of it. So I don't know what happened there. That could be what's going on.
Yes, that might be it. Maybe there was an extra digit of something. It should end in the number 1. His guess of the link.
Right, yeah, that's 6401.
Yeah. Okay, fingers crossed. All right. We'll wait for him in there. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're trying to get online with Chicago right now. They're having a technical issue connecting with us for some strange reason. We are live on Instagram and on all the other sites. So like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Patreon.com/HalSparks. And of course, I suppose if you're in the generalized Chicagoland area, when they play ads on WCPT, you should help those people as well and buy their products. P.S. Venmo is right here if you want to support the show and you don't like, doing super chats and whatnot. And their audio is looping. Yeah, they're playing commercials right now while he's trying to get in there. I may have to, Johnny, I may have to start a new room and give a whole new link if he's having an issue.
Okay. He has not replied to me since. He's like, all right, give us a few. We'll work out the kinks. I resent him that link, so we'll see what happens.
Okay. All right. Well, he should be able to get in. And meanwhile, there's Johnny Million. Look at that. Hi. Look at you.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
I feel like I have to hold on. I need to add a green screen filter.
Oh, yeah.
To you because you've earned it that way.
You.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, I see Chicago in the background coming in.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Yeah, I can see it. There we go. Copy that. Put this in here. Drop this in here. Hopefully they will stay so that link will work. And then hopefully Chicago will stay. Yes. Hopefully Chicago will be able to send audio our way. Hey, I heard it. Wow, that was weird. I heard an echo, but you're there and you can hear us, so that's all good.
We're there. Go. Yay!
Whoa. Yay. Okay. Sounds good. I hope the echo is gone. Johnny Million, can you hear me okay? Okay, check for me. All right, there we go. So I got to turn that on. Excellent. Okay. Then I guess away we go.
And away we go.
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose we're going online in just a second, Chicago. I'm seeing screens popping all over the place, but do we have 30 seconds
right now? So.
Oh, no. Oh, excellent. I love that. Well, we've been on the live stream, for minutes now. And it's, of course, time for our first break. Welcome to the show. It's the HalSparks radio program, Megaworldwide, here on WCPT. And I'm, as we would say, because of last week, if you weren't around, we are one cat short on this episode. For those of you that don't know, my eldest feral cat, Chud, the oldest cat,
Mama
Chud. Yeah,
the OG kitty.
My first cat, my first pet, that I had since leaving my farm in Kentucky. And she was around for a good long while. We lost her last week, and it was right, maybe half hour before the show started. Summer FaceTime me, and she was having a seizure and going through all this stuff, and I was on.
That's amazing. She could FaceTime you while she was having a seizure.
No, yes, well, but it's a habit now. It's muscle memory. While Chud was, thank you very much.
She can focus through it.
Thank you. While Chud was, and so 2 hours later she passed. As we were kind of online the entire time.
Exact same thing happened when I was when I used to have to drive to Chicago to do the show. For CPT, Mrs. Million found our cat Mustafa under the bed having a seizure.
Oh.
And remember, it was years and years ago, maybe 2017, and I had to turn around and drive home.
Yeah.
To the vets and pretty much just watch him pass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's essentially what we went through that morning. So, anyways, she's sorely missed, and we're back and we're live, and here we are. Oh, thank you, Hal Vickery. That's really sweet.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you for the super chat, and thank you guys for the ongoing support, emotionally and otherwise. I gotta say, I had a Sexy Liberal show last Saturday when it happened that night. And I was talking to Summer right before the show, and I was like, I don't know how I can do it. I'm not, because I was a blubbery mess. And so what I did was I came out and I asked, because everybody was really nice. And if you're really nice to me when I'm sad, that's when I fall apart. That's when,
right.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Is that why you wouldn't reply to my texts?
Yep. Couldn't do it.
I was being super gentle, checking on him. Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
How are things?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like
all blubbering implied.
Yeah. And anyways, I had the audience boo me when I came out on stage really hard. I was like, I asked everyone to just like give me your worst, just vitriolic boos, pretend I'm Marjorie Taylor Greene, at a state fair, just wandering through, cutting line in front of you at the ticket booth for the Tilt-A-Whirl, just everything you got. And they did. And I got to say, it helped immensely.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's right, Berkeley. People who were at the show can attest to this. And it really did help.
Carl Smith was there, evidently.
Mm-hmm. Some people are still booing.
Did, and it was awesome.
I figured, it helps to get it out of the way anyways. Now, I got to say, before we had our kind of tech kerfuffles this morning, I had an entire segment planned for the opening of the show because of the jobs numbers. Oh my gosh. The 272,000 jobs, which of course is setting all the Wall Streeters on a panic because, oh no, now we'll never get a rate drop, which we absolutely will. Because even the Fed is realizing that interest rates are having no impact on the job market. It is only affecting the real estate market, almost singularly. Nobody can, it's literally just home borrowing that's taken a hit. Nothing else is related to it at all. And so it's the May jobs report added 272. They revised down March and April. March they revised down from 315,000 to 310,000. Dear God, the cliff. And then last month they shaved off 10K. Off of what was the 160. So the aggregate has been, we're approaching like by the end of June, it's going to be 1 million jobs added in 4 months, somewhere along that line. And it's getting absurd at this point that everybody, the people who are upset about this are the Kudlows of the world and the Maria Bartiromos, not because they don't like the numbers and don't like how the economy's going, because they absolutely are making money hand over fist in the stock market and in their equities and everything else. They can't understand why everything is up and nothing is down at the same time, because it was an aggregate gap, because the down part already happened. This is the part that drives me crazy. COVID was the dip. It was such an extraordinary, outlandish, ridiculous, on an economic level, absurd dip in the economy that all the upside that we're seeing is balanced out by that dip. That's what that was it. And now we're in a situation where there are two aspects of that are happening. One of the people that I saw, I think it was Megyn Kelly or somebody, it was Kimberly Guilfoyle, who had an economics guy on her thing to talk about how Bidenomics doesn't work. And he, right in the middle of crapping all over her talking points while still pretending to support them, he said something really interesting. That if you take out the rising cost of rents, and by the way, residential rent, not corporate rent, because corporate properties are tanking right now. So if you own two properties, you own an office building and an apartment building. The apartment building is the only place where you can make money right now, because the office building is going to be 80% vacant or 60% vacant post-COVID from people working outside the office. A lot of businesses deciding they didn't even need an office to start with. They can meet at a Cracker Barrel twice a month, and then they can, have the rest of their stuff, right?
That sounds delicious.
It does, yeah. But if you're going to work those out, if that's your retirement plan, you own 2 buildings in Toledo, you own a small office building, and you invested in an apartment building, and that's how you and the family make your living post retirement or whatever. That's you manage both those places that you own. One of them's empty right now, so the other one's going to go up. That's partly what's to do with this, and the lack of available places, because people bought, everybody moved up into a bigger space during the pandemic. If I'm not going to go to the office, I want an apartment with an extra room. So they ate up all the extra properties. And so the price of that went up because people who had businesses that they paid the rent on that office for just moved it home. So they've got that money left over. So that was eaten up in the market. The other one is auto insurance. The 2 areas that are driving most of this, auto insurance and rental properties. Those 2 things, if you remove those from the aggregate inflation is 0.02% right now.
What is the worst economy?
Dear God. Years? Oh, will we ever survive? Oh, dear. Oh, God. Okay. And you know why insurance is higher? Because people got nicer cars. Not the nicest cars, but they got nicer cars during the pandemic. Remember the Carvana spike and you couldn't get a used car, right? Mm-hmm. All that stuff. Food prices, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, are coming down. That's because they're on the decline, because they're easier to get and all that stuff. And if you look, what it's translating into, the aggregate price has not changed, but everything's on sale. So if you go to, I was in Vitamin Shop yesterday, everything is buy one, get one half off. Everything in the store. It wasn't even there similar items. Buy one of anything, get the other thing half price. Because everything's overstocked, because everybody thinks things are expensive, so they're not buying anything but the essentials, and then they don't understand why everything else is on sale. So everything's got a coupon, everything's on sale, but the standard price hasn't moved. So everybody's like, oh my God, look at the price of eggs. Oh wait, they're half off. And that goes back to our dear maggot idiot who was standing in a Costco saying that the price of mayonnaise had gone up 100% because it was $4.50 last year and now it's $9. Never mind the fact, or the last time he went. He goes, the last time I was here was 3 months ago. It's gone up 100% in 3 months, and because it was December into February. And if you look at it, he's literally standing in front of these giant bulk mayonnaise packet things that you buy at Costco, which is like
Costco. Yeah.
Yeah. It's $9 for mayonnaise. It's a 7-year supply. And then he's standing in front of the price thing on it that says the price, what the coupon was, and the fact that the coupon is just expired. The last time he bought it, it was on sale. The sale's over, so it's back to the normal price. It was always that price. And I got news for you. It will be again. They'll keep it at $9 so they can sell it to you for $7 when it costs them $3 to make you think you're getting a deal, because that's how bulk works. Right? It's just, 5 gallons of mayo, please. Right. Thank you, chat room, by the way, for joining in on this. But that's the absurdity that we're talking about. That's the perception issue. Now, a lot of the media is asking, if the economy's improving so much, why does everyone feel so bad about it? Because you are telling them to.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. There's 2 ends of this. It is a double-edged sword. On the one side of that sword is the blade that Fox News uses, which is anything that happens under Trump, even if it's bad, is good. Anything that happens under Biden is bad. If it's good, it's bad. Even if it's good, it's bad. Right. And so they need that to be that way. They will always downplay any upside in the economy. On the other side, you've got our side of the media, which is, I would say, empathetic to people who who haven't caught up with the growing economy or aren't a part of it, or maybe it's not helping everybody yet, and there's still work to be done. And instead of talking about it in terms of there's still work to be done, everybody says, it's terrible. Like, it's just another version of terrible, because it's all, you need that sort of clickbait title to draw your attention in. Yeah. When on the measure, especially compared to the rest of the world. And that's the key part, because we did just come out of a pandemic. A pandemic, by the way, that is eating several large countries still to this day. There are multiple countries right now, decent-sized European countries with major economies, who are in double-digit inflation for the 4th year in a row.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the things, like eggs is one of the markers that everybody's talking about. This is another great example. If you'll notice, increasingly, stores are selling eggs in 18 cartons instead of 12. Instead of a dozen, they have the double wads, that are a third bigger, whatever, and maintaining the same price that they had on a dozen eggs before, that was higher because of bird flu. But now they have excess eggs, so they're just selling the 18 eggs at the price of 12, while everybody's just looking at, a carton of eggs is this. And it's increasingly true. It used to be that if you go to Costco, it's like 24 eggs in it's like these double carton things. That's what we get when we go there, because I consume a lot of eggs, and a lot of them. And a lot, and too much, but a lot. Anyways, but I'm increasingly seeing those in regular grocery stores. And for the longest time, you didn't see that. What you saw was 6 eggs in the little mini carton, 12 eggs in the regular. That's what you got. Now, increasingly, it's 18 and 24 packs in regular grocery stores, and they're organic. They're from grass-fed massage chickens that have a summer home in the Alps. Like everything. Even the chintziest redneck who goes to the Trump gatherings, who's complaining about eggs, is buying like fish oil omega-3 eggs that are organic and pasture raised, and they insist on it, right? They're not just going, eggs are eggs like they used to. They're paying the premium for the better eggs. And then they're saying, why are these eggs so expensive? That's why. Add that in bird flu. We got to take avian flu. We got to take a break because they culled 250,000 chickens in a few weeks a year ago. Anyways, hit that like while we're in the break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide, on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. I hope we sound better to them than they sound to us. It's very watery and weird coming.
Are you still getting the echo?
Yes. It's like a slapback. You sound like Elvis testing the microphone. Just say thank you very much. Now
I'm gonna listen on my phone here and see what it's like.
Okay. How's it sound? Yeah. Live echo. Yeah. But do you guys? Hey, Boston Brian, what's happening, man? Yeah. Anybody who's checking on the actual CPT feed, do we sound okay? Okay. It sounds good to IS. The Islamic State really likes the show, according to Boston Brian. We sound great to them. I saw us.
Yeah, it sounds all right to me.
Good. Okay. Now, excellent. I was supposed to be in Chicago today, and unfortunately, yeah. Let's see. Yeah. What was that?
That was a yawn.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you ever have so much caffeine you get tired again?
Yeah, that's usually from dehydration.
That tracks.
Yeah, if let's see, Okay. If caffeine makes you tired, you are dehydrated, and if you drink water, let's see.
10 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming back.
Yeah.
To the House Sparks radio program, Megaworldwide.
And back.
Thank you. Welcome back. Thank you, Chicago, for putting up with our craziness today. And Johnny Million is with us. Philip Hittner will be joining us from Kyiv if they don't have a blackout during the time, because things are getting... Ukraine is hitting back heavy, and it looks for all the world like a counteroffensive. That we were talking about last year that was delayed by the Republicans who were holding back the funds. We will talk about more of that later. Also, Russia's increasingly, it looks like they're turning to old-fashioned terrorism, blowing up sites and sending people in to destroy things in other countries, NATO allies and other countries as sort of a threat, and then, of course, blather about the nuclear word that Trump talks about. But here's what I want to talk about. Okay, so Johnny, you know I like being right.
You do.
Yeah,
and you cannot lie.
That's right. I have to say, this goes to, if you're looking in our in the Notion page that I sent you, the second segment that I put on there is called "Joe Biden is the greatest oil trader ever." All right. So I have been talking about for a while about how Biden sold oil from the strategic reserve and then bought it back at a cheaper price. Buy low, sell high. That's what Joe Biden's been doing with the strategic reserve. Yes. And I've said, like, there's been several times when we've talked about this, about the price of oil and all this kind of stuff, and everybody's going, it's going to go to $150, $70 a barrel. Remember that? Remember everybody, it was going to be oil, $200 a barrel. That was like Glenn Beck's mantra in 2022. On and on and on, right? And so I continually called BS on this. I reported that when Biden sold out of the strategic reserve at nearly $112 a barrel and then bought it back at $70, that he kind of knows what he's doing. And I have said this like several times. Well, guess what? The conventional, I won't even say mainstream, because it's really it's sort of deeper reads. The conventional media has finally caught up to what I was talking about all this time. This is an article from Dan Dicker. He was on Chris Hayes' show, I think, last night or the night before. And he wrote this piece, Joe Biden is the greatest oil trader ever. So he's talking about, he goes, there's a lot of hurry up and wait about the Fed rates. So everybody's talking about this because too many jobs makes the Fed nervous or whatever. But in this, he goes, since I have some time then, and so do you, let's talk about something else. And he starts on this whole thing. Joe Biden is the greatest oil trader who ever lived. Yeah. So all presidents have used various tools at their disposal to some degree to keep gas prices in check during midterms. Trump's transactional plan with the Saudis was to offer a pass to Jamal Khashoggi assassination and a $23 billion sale of sensitive F-35 fighter jets to Saudi Arabia and Saudi ally the UAE, planes that three previous administrations had passed on selling to anyone in the Middle East. For this, Trump got his barrels and oil prices plummeted in the fall of 2018. Biden, this is what Biden, that's what Trump did. He sold them F-13s and F-35s, and he blew off the Khashoggi murder. Biden clearly isn't the deal maker type, but he also didn't feel he couldn't do a bit of large-scale market manipulation instead, using the emergency reserves of the United States to scare the bejesus out of any traders thinking about holding oil from the late summer into November. While the total release of 350 million barrels from the SPR isn't a practical flooding of the global market, consider this: the United States produces somewhere in the order of 3 million barrels a day. 13 million barrels a day, which is 3 million barrels more than we were under Trump and 1 million barrels more than we need for our own domestic use, which we still export because we buy cheaper oil from other places and balance the cheap cost of that oil against the expensive quality of what we sell overseas that's made into jet fuel and all kinds of other stuff. Okay, so while the release of it isn't flooding the gold market, it was a strong signal for traders to stay the hell out of the way of the United States, who was working frantically for a very short-term drop in gas prices. Don't be long, the U.S. was saying to traders, you stand to lose a lot of money. Remember, from a fundamental supply-demand view, this may be the most bullish oil market I've seen in my entire 40-year career. This is Dan Dicker talking about this. Following oil. Russian bans and oil isolation, U.S. shale production discipline, OPEC production shortfalls, post-pandemic pent-up demand, Iran sanctions, Nigerian unrest. It goes on and on. All of it swamped momentarily by U.S. pressure from the SPR, Federal Reserve inflation targeting, and dollar strength. And these financial tricks have been incredibly successful in annihilating oil prices, fully knocking nearly 40% off the price of a barrel of oil since its highs, 123 to 76, and gas from over $5 a gallon to under $3, before rallying a bit after the OPEC announcement. That's what makes Joe Biden the greatest oil trader ever. Think about it. And this is the crucial part. This is what I was pointing out, and this is the stack he's mentioning. Think about it. He sold 350 million barrels of oil between $100 and $120 a barrel, and is now looking to buy it back for around 80. By the way, under 80. That's where their set marker is. When it hits 70, they bought most of it back. But 80 is their baseline. Once it goes below 80, that's when they can start buying it back. Let's say you could buy it all back at 85. This is conservative. That'd be something like $30 profit on 350 million barrels. That is a little more than $10 billion. Joe Biden has made $10 billion for the taxpayer, just by strategically selling oil from the reserves and putting it back. We're not down that 350 million barrels. We're buying it back whenever the price goes, significantly below what we sold it for, which is, by the way, anything under $90. You could do it right now, and he'd still make $3 billion on the rest of it. Joe Biden is making $10 billion for the American taxpayer. He goes, makes Enron look like play school. He goes, if Biden were another president with such tremendous trading profits in hand, he might look for some way to take a cut for himself, but I digress. That's Trump he's talking about. It's enough of an outrage for me, a lifetime believer and trader of semi-free markets and capitalism, to watch the United States play the whale in this oil poker game, with enough chips to make sure that the small bettors are forced to run and hide and the game go in their direction. I've watched for years as the Federal Reserve has played market manipulator with interest rates and quantitative easing to move stocks and bonds and other distressed assets, particularly in financial crisis periods. But at least their excuse was that they were working to move markets in the interest of financial stability, as misguided as that sometimes might have seemed. With Joe Biden, the greatest oil trader I've ever seen, there's nothing behind it but political expediency, and that bothers me a lot. He doesn't like this. This is not a guy writing an article in support of Biden. He doesn't want Biden to win. And he's even, and by the way, I think he's probably a never Trumper as well. He would rather have Republicans in charge of this, but you can't argue with success. And he's not the only one saying it. Wall Street. This is the Wall Street Journal. Remember the same people who just put out an article about him being doddering? In December, they put out an article, Meet America's Newest Oil Trader Extraordinaire. Oil prices have sputtered since the U.S. began selling its stockpiles. Biden's unprecedented release of oil from the U.S. petroleum reserves in 2022 turned the White House into an unusually active player in the volatile crude market. The flood of emergency supplies helped arrest surging oil prices after Russia invaded Ukraine and pulled billions of dollars into the Energy Department's coffers in the process. Oil prices have sputtered since and allowed officials who sold high to start replenishing U.S. stockpiles on the cheap. The question that will echo from Washington to Wall Street in 2024 is how the Biden administration might finish off a trade many investors would envy. That's the Wall Street Journal. Here's The Economist. Joe Biden, master oil trader. The president has turned volatility into profit. He has a high-stakes job. War and natural disasters keep him on his toes. He is often on a plane to far-flung places, traveling to negotiate with local leaders. He has the best intelligence money can buy, and as November's election nears, he will spend lots of time looking at lines on charts. The American president and swashbuckling oil traders, it turns out, have a lot in common. Indeed, Joe Biden also seems to have a knack for the oil trade. 2 years ago, his administration initiated the largest sell-off of America's strategic petroleum reserve, an emergency store of crude oil to counteract price surges caused by Russia's war in Ukraine. Back then, dwindling stocks left observers twitchy. What if there was another shock to the system? So far, however, Mr. Biden has gotten away with the gamble. He is now refilling America's tanks and began a new round of bidding on May 7th. Although inflation and war have marked his presidency, domestic fuel prices have remained relatively stable and American production high. Hi. It worked. Like all good traders, Mr. Biden has turned volatility into profit. In 2022, when he released 180 million barrels of crude, or 1/3 of America's stockpile, he sold it at an average of $95 a barrel. They're aggregating it low, by the way, because they sold a chunk later. In July last year, when the West Texas Intermediate benchmark was $67 a barrel, he began to refill the reserve. The president has replaced about 1/5 of what he sold, posting a profit of $582 million. This is an older article, and has managed to time the market to perfection. Here's Financial Times. Oil and gas profits triple under Joe Biden, even as industry decries him. Bonanza shows limited presidential role in driving returns despite warning of disastrous second term. Everybody's complaining about him in the oil markets, but they're benefiting from his policies. And then this is probably the biggest part. This is Vox. And this is really what this is about. This is an article from Vox. Biden isn't advertising America's record oil boom. Biden is not waging war on American energy. He's boosting it. The U.S. is the largest crude oil producer in the world, pumping out nearly 13 million barrels on average every day in 2023, an all-time record, according to new data from the U.S. Energy Information Administration. That's an awkward milestone for President Joe Biden, who has arguably done more than any modern president to facilitate America's transition away from fossil fuels to greener alternatives. Right. Well, the idea is we're eventually going to sell this stuff to the people as they catch up, and we will transition first, as all first world countries do when it comes to technology. Do you think there are quantum computers in the outbacks of Australia and in India and in the desert regions of China? See how this works?
I'm looking for them.
Yeah. This is it right here. Look at this. I'm showing a chart online right now that is pretty telling, and on a bunch of fronts. One is the U.S. holds the global crude oil production record right now. We are producing 13 million barrels a day. Russia comes in at second at 10 million barrels a day. That is also a wishy-washy number that is nowhere. You can't verify it anymore. So it's been BS since 2022, essentially. But it has gone down since then in their market. Saudi Arabia has even less, with 9.7. Just under 10 million barrels a day. And they have gone down from, I guess, their peak. Yeah, their biggest peak was in 2022 during the rise in the prices, and it has cratered since then. They have tried to manipulate the market. They are, all this talk about where Joe Biden is the new Jimmy Carter. And by the way, God, I wish, because what a decent human being Jimmy Carter is and was, and he kind of is. I mean, they have a lot in common. They absolutely do. They've managed to keep the same wife the whole time, unlike some other. Anyways, but one of the things is that OPEC realized at an earlier part of their gathering that they could manipulate the American electorate, and they tested the waters on that from 1973 to 1976, and then they put it into full effect under Jimmy Carter to try and force a more favorable group in there, which by the way. Go watch Bobcat Goldthwait's first stand-up special, Share the Warmth. And he's making jokes about how friendly Reagan was getting with the Iranians. specifically at that time because of the deal he made with them to help him get elected. And a lot of that had to do with curtailing oil supplies at a time when...
Share the Warmth, the video that came out with Meat Bob. Those different shows.
Those are different shows. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. And one more thing. I don't know if you know this, but Jamie Comer has found a new kind of, not China money, but China green. Whoa, China Grove. I'll tell you after we come back. It's so, the irony is so ironic.
I got to go feed this one.
Understood. I get it.
Back.
Okay, cool. And that'll give me a moment to set up my other story chunk. Hi, everybody. Hit the like while you're at it. Let them know we're here. That's how people know we're on the air. It helps immensely. And let me move these pages down into here because I gotta say this is it's so good. It's just so much that's so good. I enjoy the funniness. All right, this is in here, and then ouch. Yeah, okay, here we go. It's good.
We're coming back in 15.
Okay, thank you. And I'll wait for Johnny to come back. There's his chair. That'll do. Was that me? Oh. I'm coming! You're coming!
I'm coming! You're locked into the House Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Okay, so besides, let's see, what have been? What would you say, Johnny Million? The two biggest things that James Comer has, Jamie, sorry, to his, I guess his transactional relationships and acquaintances.
Is that the old FBI guy?
No, that's Comey.
Oh, God.
We're thinking of James Comer, for the Kentucky representative who's been going after Hunter Biden and you know, the China money. China money. Like he's the guy who goes on Maria Bartiromo and says China money all the time. China money. Okay. So I don't know if you'll recall, but there were two big stories besides the whole kind of blathering, money went from here to there, and therefore it's the same money. Like, you know what I mean? You took money out of an ATM, and 6 months later, you gave that money to somebody else. They stole that from that ATM. That's kind of the logic we're dealing with. And, okay, there are two big things he accused Biden doing, which is, A, doing business with China, and, you know, I guess both illegally and unethically, because why wouldn't you just make money here in America? Why can't you support America, right? Instead of your China money. Okay. A story came out this week.
Then you need more money 2 hours later.
Oh, I see what you did there. Sure.
So you see what I did there?
Yeah. I'm very disappointed, but it was good.
Chinese food joke I threw out there.
Yeah, I don't know if it's I think it's a carbohydrates reference.
Oh, maybe it's just... That's got to be it.
It is. That's exactly what it is. That's why. It's the prevalence of the rice and noodles as a primary staple of the aspect of it, and the low protein content of most Chinese takeout, at least back in the day. It's not so much true anymore, but that it's not satiating because there's not enough, and it's seed oils instead of animal fat. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. That's why you
made
get
me hungry with all of that.
Right? Yeah. Unlike like pizza, which immediately just like clogs up your system immediately. Like you're like, I could eat this whole.
I want pizza.
Right. So you're welcome. I'm a
How do you make
hypnotist.
pizza sound so good by saying it clogs up your system?
Well,
I'm
because
listening.
I know what you. I may not know art, but I know what you like. So this is the story that I gotta say I love this. It is illegal. Top House GOP are caught doing the exact same thing he accused Biden of. Representative James Comer, Republican from Kentucky, who spent the last few years finding ways to hound Joe Biden and his family as chair of the House Oversight Committee, was just found to have done the same thing he previously accused Biden of doing. The Daily Beast reported on emails it obtained, confirming that during the 4-year period when Comer was Kentucky's ag commissioner, he used at least 2 different email addresses to conduct official government business. Now, what were those email addresses? Did he use Carlos Danger? Did he use something like that? No.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of almost worse. He used Harlan Comer and H. Comer 76 or something like that, which are his son's emails. He used his kid's email address to do private business around the bills and the budget stuff that he had in front of himself. And he signed those emails Jamie, because he's a big stupid. He's a big dum-dum.
Wow. That's like those people who have the Twitter accounts that, like, they say that they're a young black gay man and they're all for Republicans, and then they'll forget to change it back.
Right. Yeah. And then they keep they keep tweeting like the sports stuff that they're at, or a picture of themselves at an event.
Yeah.
You're like, you look a lot like Charlie Kirk's producer. Is that your side hustle? As you guys all run like 9 faux black accounts for Trump? Yeah, I'm not kidding. Okay, so he ran Harlan Comer and H. Comer. Now it gets better. By the way, it's not that he just used email aliases to do government business on private email that he had a financial stake in. Sound familiar? Gee, it's almost exactly what he accused Biden of. Okay, this is noteworthy. As Comer has suggested on multiple occasions that Biden used email synonyms to conceal potential criminal activity and related to his son Hunter and foreign business deals he was conducting. According to the Daily Beast, Comer had at least 2 known pseudonyms. We only know of 2 of them.
Sure.
Yeah. Both named for his son, Harlan 2 at Kentucky.gov and Harlan.Comer at Kentucky.gov. Also, his son...
Oh?
Yeah, his son doesn't...
Dude.
Right. His son doesn't work there, insofar as I know. At the time he was doing the initial ones, his son was 7 years old. So, yeah. Pseudonym email is fairly common practice in order to ensure vital official records are saved separately. If the purpose is concealing it is wrong, it is illegal. Now, the Daily Beast did this article. Now, this is the best part. The pseudonyms appear on dozens of emails, many discussing Chinese imports. Sometimes alongside Comer's official James Comer address, KDA officials, the Kentucky Department of Agriculture, were aware of the aliases record show, as was the hemp program's outside counsel, a Comer associate who addressed Jamie in one of the Harlan accounts. Okay, so what you don't know is that James Comer was trying, and this is super weird, to buy Chinese hemp seed.
With China money?
With China money. And also, like, I got news for you. Is it hard to find hemp seed in the United States?
Not lately.
I mean, it grows everywhere. Like, that's one of its values as a resource crop, is because it literally grows on hillsides. It doesn't need a direct source of water. It's grass. It's giant grass. Right. So
the prairie.
Yeah, his spokesperson told the Daily Beast the congressman does not recall logging on or using email accounts while at the Kentucky Department of Agriculture. Nor does he, I guess, that claim appears false, according to emails obtained by the Daily Beast. And so he's been selling this whole thing. In 2014, message sent from one of the 2 accounts named for Comer's son, Harlan Comer, told a KDA aide, I'll touch base with you today about hemp. Some things have happened overnight with respect to hemp, so we may be growing it this year. Now, again, we may be growing it. That's his private stuff. And the reason he's talking about it to an aide at the Kentucky Department of Agriculture himself. Okay, so then he signed it James Comer. He's that stupid. Because he's a big dummy. He also, he talked about this production thing, and then he wrote, signed Jamie. Now, wait, before the favorite part. When they got this order of China weed, there was a part where they picked up a package and it said rapeseed on it, and it was the hemp seed. They were hiding it. So China is shipping pot into the United States, pot seeds into the United States under the name rapeseed to get it through customs, and so this is my favorite part, and then we got to go to break, and we'll be back with Philip Bittner. This is from an email that he Gehring emailed Brannon about a nervous driver who had picked up some of their plants from the university on Comer's personal authorization, only to discover the payload reeked of pot. FYI, for your eyes only, the email began. The driver who picked up the hemp seed was scared all the way back from Murray. He stated the odor was very strong, and he observed a few truckers pass his truck and snicker. I was told the smell is identical to what Mary J smells like. I personally have to take their word for it. Sure you do.
Uh-huh.
Sure you do. Oh, my God. So it's just so good. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this with Philip Bittner joining us. We're going to make sure he has the right link as well. Before we go into the break, just to make sure he's all caught up. I think he does. He should, because he was on Wednesday. But just in case.
Yeah, he was on Wednesday. But he's got a leg up.
So good. China money for China weed. Ooh, that smell. We'll be back right after this. Also, if I may... I buried the lead, did I? Okay. Where's the company he bought it with is in Louisville, Kentucky. This guy, what's his name? Dan Caudill. There it is. Jerry recommended destroying the hemp and canceling the second harvest, writing, I feel that Murray will want to eradicate the Chinese seed plots as soon as possible because of the potential liability. Dan Caudill, however, had a different plan. I do disagree with your email, he replied. Caudill said he was suspicious of the results since the test was carried out by a private company, Canavest, a potential competitor, even though, as Gehring noticed, the tests were blind. Therefore, let's go to Jamie Comer's office and ask them where we can get this material tested, even if it is the state police laboratory, and we'll pay for the cost, Caudill wrote. Now, so who's this Dan Caudill guy? Well, Caudill Seed is the one who brokered the deal, who raised money for Comer's failed gubernatorial campaign. And, yeah, there you go. That's Murray State. By the way, that's at Murray State University Hudson School of Agriculture. He's the dean, Tony Brannon, who was writing that email. My grandfather was the president of Murray State University for a while. There is a building named after my family there. So I've got a lot of ties to this story through a bank shot. Where's the? Here's how you know
the building called. Is it called Wiener Place?
Shut up, big dummy. You dumb.
Named after your family, Dum Dums.
What? Where'd you buy that joke? At the dumb joke store? This is, by the way, this is the Drudge Report. James Comer helped donor import Chinese weed. When the Drudge Report is going after you.
The Drudge Report will not budge, will it? It looks the same.
Yeah, it's 90s quality. Hold on, I hear there's Phil in the background. I'm going to bring him in just a minute once he gets settled.
Looking good, Phil.
Thank you.
There he is.
Literally just got power back. So.
Whoa, all right.
Yay!
That worked. The volume's very high. Okay,
Uh-oh, now that I've fed the cat, she's crawling into the litter box.
Uh-oh.
But dear God.
You're going to be downwind. There he is. Okay, I'm going to move myself out of the way so I'm not blocking everybody.
Someone in the chat was like, Wiener Place?
There you go. There we go, and everybody's in here. Excellent. Now I got to see if the... No, I don't have a... +3.
Your beard is coming back in mightily, my friend.
Yeah, I'm going to the barber on Monday.
Ooh, what are they going to do? They trim?
They do.
Oh, weird.
Do they have to put blinders on?
Oh, I see. Hold on. So that's what it is. There's some
Yes,
sort
and
of
I live on a diet of apples and carrots as well.
When Phil and I were hanging out in Chicago, I gave him a sugar cube, and he's my friend for life.
Nom, 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 nom.
Yeah. Oh dear.
All right. How do I? All right. Why would the slapback be on there? Ah, that's why. So if we do this,
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
it's okay. Got it. Control. There we go.
Sweetie, how was that?
And then take this and this. Close. Okay. And that should.
We're back in 2020.
Thank you. And then I'll turn this off. And then. Why am I not hearing? Okay. So I'm not hearing Phil right now. Turn that off right there.
Test.
There we go. That got rid of the slapback at least
test.
on there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gone.
Cool. Johnny, can you say something? Check for me.
Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
Excellent. Cool. Okay.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out on me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Damn puss-faced little pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Welcome back. I think that was that little extra sound effect was added courtesy of Philip Bittner's phone in Kyiv. How are you this fine morning, sir?
Good. Evening, my time, but
Yes.
yeah, fine. We literally just got back power.
Yay!
And it's today is the first day in about a week and a half where we've had some kind of reliable electricity
Right.
in Kyiv. For the last week or so, we've been having rolling blackouts, some scheduled, some not.
Yeah.
And we were getting about 12 hours a day of power, about half
Right.
the day.
Yeah.
And today was the first day we've had pretty solid power throughout the day, except for the last 90 minutes or so.
Right.
When we had a blackout here in downtown Kyiv. But first day, hopefully, touch wood, it'll improve. The civil engineers in Kyiv are working overtime.
Right.
To bring back power, but also in addition to that, I suspect it has something to do with more air defense capabilities coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So they, but it's going to be a tough summer and it's going to be a tough winter. They've damaged the electrical grid pretty severely.
Yeah, I have to say I looked at the map of kind of the front line for the first time in a little bit, and it is clear that the gear is arriving. Because there was a big Ukrainian gain around Kharkiv. They are definitely, beyond just chewing up anybody the Russians send their way, they are regaining territory that they lost during that dip when everybody was Scott Rittering their way through this, where they were like, they're losing anyways. Why bother? You're just costing Ukrainian lives. It'd be better if they just rolled over and took it and then raised the baby. So, and then there's been a tremendous number of attacks in and around Sevastopol, like bombings inside Crimea. Yeah, so that move, that's the first time I've seen major movement in those areas in a little bit, and it seems to be clearly indicative of the weapons that are finally arriving. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think the artillery is coming online. I think the armor, notably the Bradley fighting vehicle, which is turning out to be a real good system here.
Sure.
It turns out it might be the best infantry fighting vehicle in the entire war.
Yeah.
More shells, more air defense, so you can protect your troops on the move. You can protect your cities. You don't have to make a decision between the two. Yeah, I think things are starting to come online. We have a few more things to go, but they are starting to come online. But again, there's still, frustration that there isn't a declaration of what the West's intention is here. I mean,
Right.
I bring this up. The next episode of On the Edge is going to be with General Ben Hodges,
Wow.
who used to be commander of all land forces for NATO in Europe. And I've known General Hodges for 20 some odd years. I knew him back in Iraq. And this is one of the points he brings up when we discuss things during the podcast is, the West has to decide what it is they want to do here. And if they want, not just we'll support you no matter what it takes, but rather we want to see Ukraine win. And so that's a different mentality. And so as grateful as people are here to get the aid flowing again, there is still this frustration of like, what does the West want to do in Ukraine in supporting the Ukraine war effort? Are we just going to kind of like, keep going along and, little drips of streams of weaponry? Or are we going to finally decide, no, we actually want Ukraine to win? And what does that look like? And what do the Ukrainians envision victory? And then what do we envision victory as being? So it's a good debate to have. It's timely, and and it's a good debate not a debate, but a discussion with General Hazard. So that's worth watching, I think.
Right. And I know that drones struck North Ossetia for the first time.
Mozdok. Yeah. And it's a major Russian military base called Mozdok. I've been to Mozdok a long time ago. Oh boy. It was the staging area, or one of the staging areas for Russia's war in Chechnya.
Right.
And it's okay. So the South Caucasus have been a really difficult area for the Russian Empire to pacify. It's always been this place where they have separatist movements all the time. It's mountainous, so you have that kind of mountain mentality of like, you city slickers, don't come and bother us. We're up here in a mountain for a reason. Leave us alone. Like up in the holler, or Scottish Highlanders sort of thing. And so there's a lot of military infrastructure along the Caucasus there, the southern Russian Caucasus, the northern like Georgian, Armenian, Azerbaijan Caucasus.
Right.
So they have a lot of military infrastructure there, and by extension, it's not the primary staging area for Ukraine. That remains Rostov, but Rostov can draw support from places like Mozdok. There's another base in a place called Makhachkala. So that is like, it's an arterial military support system for Rostov, and actually hitting into the Caucasus, especially in Ossetia, which is a tinderbox, it's a smart attack on the Ukrainian side, because there's a lot of potential to destabilize that place. If you can destabilize Mozdok, they can't continue to pacify the Ossetians or the Abkhazians, these separatist movements in Russia's Caucasus. But then they also, are going to be hindered in supporting military attacks here in Ukraine. An impressive strike, really an impressive strike.
There's a few things I know we want to touch on, and people will have questions for you, no doubt, since we weren't on last Saturday. So just tag Johnny Million in the chat if you would like to add a question, and we will do our best to get to that right after the break. But I will say there are a couple of things right out of the gate. There's a little more. I don't know if honesty is the word, but a little more frankness in discussing, maybe it's the crest of going past the 500,000 dead mark that did it. But there's an article, I want to say it was in the Washington Post. New York Times is talking about how Russia's about to run out of tanks. Somebody did the math about how many they've lost and how many they had in reserve and how many they can replace on the regular. And they're looking at a total collapse, which is why you're going to start seeing ones that they bought from China show up on the battlefield is the thing. So they're retrofitting them, or they're slapping different labels on them so that if people don't go, hey, this came from China, and then China will get mad because people get mad at them. That's a conversation we can have as well. But Washington Post has an article titled "More Evidence of the Idiocy of Vladimir Putin," about how, which, I mean, again, you got to understand, the rest of the time, Trump is talking about how Putin's at the top of his game. He's at the top of he's a world leader that's at the top. He's a tough guy, smart guy, and he's top of his game, which is not at all true, because there's nothing smart about losing 500,000 soldiers in 2 years for land you could have leased from a neighbor to do almost everything else. I'm serious. Like, just to,
you'll hear no argument from me.
Right. So
he's a moron. He's a dumb move.
Yeah, and it's amazing to watch the New York Times and the Washington Post kind of finally come around to talking about it in those terms. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll grab some questions, because I know Johnny's getting some fast and furious from the chat as well. Infotainmentwars.com, by the way. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get our numbers up, because it's the struggle is real, and it always is. Also on Twitch, if you have Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you a dime. You can subscribe there. And if you haven't subscribed in a while, you have to resubscribe to be a subscriber. They make you redo it so that 15-year-olds don't burn their parents' credit cards to the ground. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I might regret this, but I've only got 2 questions so far, chat. Tag me at Johnny Million.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then Andre, I'm sure will see a couple in there as well. No doubt. Yep.
Yeah, it's surprising, the New York Times and the Post. They've been terrible so far.
Yeah, well, it's weird. It's this comedy argument where they're trying to pretend like there are even players on both sides. You know what I mean? Because they're afraid of, honest to God, they're afraid of upsetting what they view as a statistically significant number of their readers that view themselves as socialists leaning towards communists, that get offended about any criticisms of Russia as if it's a criticism of the USSR and the Soviet Socialist Republic.
Right, and then you also get the white nationalists who think that Putin is saving the white Christian race. So you get those guys as well.
Yeah, but that's not standard to the Washington Post.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. The description of Russia as a gas station with nukes, or as John McCain, I think, said, a gas station masquerading as a country, which is, especially if you see anywhere outside St. Petersburg or Moscow, it tracks. That one of the biggest industries there, of course, is Gazprom, right? The Gazprom itself is almost the entire engine of the Russian economy at this point. Again, you don't have a Russian phone, you don't have a Russian washing machine, you don't have a Russian outboard motor, you don't have a Russian fishing boat, none of that stuff. I trained to be a pilot in a Czech light sport, a light sport aircraft made for training by the people of the Czech Republic. That they make those. Is there any reason Russia couldn't make those things and have more money and resources to do that? No, not any particular reason. They just don't. And I don't know how many people would trust to get up in one, considering how big they are and pushing people out of windows. I don't know anybody who would want to get in a cheaply made Russian airplane. But that said, Gazprom is almost the singular country that does this. And according to their own Ministry of Finance, it has posted its first annual loss of the 21st century. And that's because they were lying for the last 2 years. But specifically, it went downhill. It specifically has taken a dive in the last 8 months, and it's getting worse all the time. And with the Chinese blowing off that pipeline that they want, that because they're aware that it was a diversionary tactic to get oil and gas to the Pacific, whatever. Still, they turned it down, which is a huge loss for Russia. Yeah, so that in and of itself,
Gazprom is one of the most important.
Yes.
It's this huge part of the Russian economy, that one company alone, and then add to it, a couple of other, major Russian, factories and industry. Their military industrial complex has taken a major blow because everybody sees how useless their weapons are on the battlefield. The energy sector is moving away from them because of a general move away from fossil fuels, but also because we're pumping out so much fossil. We're pumping out so much oil and natural gas ourselves. They're in trouble. They're in real big trouble, and this all comes back to the one man's decision. And I think you're 100% right. He is not a genius. He is an idiot. This was an incredibly stupid decision. He will be the man sat in the Kremlin when Russia loses dominion over Odessa and has a real threat to Crimea.
Right.
No Russian leader survives that. He's living on borrowed time. He's absolutely.
And their economy is living on borrowed time.
Cannot, and their economy will be worse. And of course, the agreement, the tacit agreement that was made between Vladimir Putin and the people of Russia when he rose to power was, I will take you away from the chaos of the 90s.
Right.
I will take you away from all the unruliness and all the economic strife, and all he's done is return them to that. But I would argue that that when the economy really starts to feel the effects of what's happening right now, and when the geopolitical embarrassment that we'll be losing the war in Ukraine comes along, that'll be exponentially worse than anything they went through with the Yeltsin years.
Right. Well, look at, for example, the difficulty that Japan had in the early 90s, right? After their huge, leap onto the scene, and they were going to wipe out the American auto market and all that kind of stuff was happening. And then Japan had a major crash that they're still dealing with. Russia and China are in the exact same situation, a spike and then a fall, both related to COVID, but also driven by their own economic and militaristic policies. The difference is that when Japan went through its trouble, it had friends in the world. It had, it had the World Bank and the WTF that were willing to help them work their way around it. It's horrible. It was devastating. I mean, it's still their stock market is never fully recovered. But we weren't, this is well after we're no longer at war with them. We're in a good place with Japan. We have great relationships with that country. We do not, and most countries on the globe, even the BRICS countries, don't have good relations with China and Russia. At best, they're in a hostage situation, and at worst, they are fellow travelers hoping to barnacle off the sort of Dr. Evil style government that Xi and Putin want to run over the rest of the world. Anybody with
China
money isn't going anywhere near them.
No, China's not going to get. China knows the deal. It may have a partnership with Russia to a certain extent, but it sees the writing on the wall. It knows where things are going. Russia doesn't have, because of this disastrous decision to invade Ukraine. Who are Russia's friends now? The DPRK, Iran. I mean, they're not exactly going to come running to aid them with significant numbers of weaponry. The Iranians and their drones, the artillery coming from the DPRK, which is been sitting in storage for decades, and which, by all reports from the front, work half the time. And then when it comes to economic assistance, both the DPRK and Iran have themselves been under massive sanctions for decades. So they're not going to get a lot of economic assistance there.
Right. They have nothing to offer the rest of the world except for playing on the pity of other empathetic countries. That honest to God, China has built its entire economy on the sympathy of the American people in the 1970s and early 80s. That's what predicated the whole thing. Finish your peas, there are people starving in China. That was a mantra in the United States. We allowed them in. Part of why Nixon walked them in was the idea that we cannot participate, we can't stand idly by while 300 million people starve to death. That was one of the motivating reasons, where we're open up, we'll bring stuff in, we've got food and stuff, you can buy it from our people, they can buy your stuff, it'll be fine. That opening was predicated on that. And the leadership therein, with some vacillation, obviously Deng and a few others were, trying to move the country towards a more open, global, member of the community. But since she came in, that's all gone. We're back to Maoism 2.0, and that didn't work the first time. That resulted in 40 to 50 million dead people, and it's gonna happen again.
And the Russians have just So there was also just this week a major economic forum in St. Petersburg, and they have it every year, and lots of people do actually go there, because they're trying to attract the global south, and there's a lot of that going on.
Right.
And so Putin apparently, in his closing remarks for the St. Petersburg Forum, said, we've had a whole bunch of new applications to the BRICS, economic organization, the international financial organization. And I'm like, who exactly? Oh, and by the way, BRICS will only ever work when you have a unified, currency.
Right.
What are you going to peg it to?
Right. That's the joke.
Who's
trusting these people? And how is Russia going to say,
exactly.
no, we're cool with it being attached to the yuan, or China going, we're cool with it being, pegged to the ruble, or either of them being splitting the difference and tying it to the rupee, because India would be the next biggest.
No,
it's absurd.
No,
it's ridiculous.
It's so think
how hard it is to manage the euro. So at the end of this St. Petersburg economic forum, he's saying, there are all these other people who are going to, you're going to get Mauritius, you'll get Burkina Faso, right?
This is not.
Yeah, let's peg it to the Iraqi dinar. It's ridiculous. And the other, and I'm sure you heard this week that Scott Ritter, professional pedophile, was pulled off of an airplane and had his passport seized as he was on his way to the St. Petersburg Economic Forum.
Yes, he did.
To be a featured speaker.
And as anybody who has an American passport, flip it to the last page. Open it up, see what it says. It says, this passport is the property of the U.S. State Department.
That's right.
Getting a passport is a privilege, not a right. Mm-hmm. Scott Ritter is an awful human being who is doing grave damage to to American interests.
It's enough that he's a convicted pedophile, and
there's that too. Yeah,
the international issue.
I'm happy with this.
Yeah,
I got no problem with his passport being pulled.
Yeah,
yeah.
And if he does go to Russia,
he's not the guy. I don't want that guy. I don't want that guy trotting around the globe
Right.
representing America.
Yeah.
No,
and
screw off.
ended up in whatever in Thailand or Monaco or wherever, you know, the like his ilk go for tourism, as it were. So just amazing. By the way, Johnny, let's grab a question before we get to the break. Yeah.
Okay, so going back to the top of my list here, from Nick Rich for Phil, how do Ukrainians react to the peace conference in Switzerland?
There was some hope being pegged onto the Lucerne peace conference that's coming up, I think, on the 15th of this month. The problem was, and again, if you go to my interview with Ambassador Yelchenko on the Edge podcast, we discussed this, and that the hope was that they could bring in non-NATO members, Global South members, or other maybe the Indians could come on board, and they could not just be a NATO body, but that they could get together in Lucerne and start to formulate a global position to present to Vladimir Putin in a way for them to, end this war.
Right.
With the Global South and India, it looks like Modi, who said he was going to go, now it looks like he may not go. If you don't get more than European or NATO members to be at Lucerne, it's going to be a bit of a flash in the pan. It's going to fizzle, I'm afraid.
Right.
But we are nowhere near a place where an honest, sincere peace plan can be initiated, because there's still fighting to be done on the actual territory here. So, as much as I am loath to say it, I wouldn't expect an awful lot from Lucerne.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be perfectly happy to be wrong. Last I checked, Vice President Harris is going to be our representative, so that's good. I didn't think it was time I never thought it was time for Biden to go. But, Ukrainians, when they look at Lucerne, I think are also looking at it very clear-eyed, in the sense that this is a very, 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 very preliminary meeting. And if it does not get more people than the usual suspects in a NATO meeting, then it's likely to be an awful lot of talk for nothing.
Right. Cool. Let's see.
Sadly.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I don't think it's going to end up moving the needle much, because again, these things tend to find their way to the wrong pivot point. Like anytime you're trying to, it's sort of like skate towards the puck. Instead of skating towards the puck, skate where the puck's gonna go. And a lot of times when they start talking about, we need to get together and start talking peace, it's based on this idea of something that's happening at the moment, which was at the time the loss of support from the United States and those material aids, and so getting Ukraine on the back foot. So it seemed like a good time for that. Once the aid started flowing again, then there's no reason for Ukraine to take anything less than their own country back. And so let's take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide.
And there's a strong chance that we've got all the questions we can handle for Phil.
Okay.
So thank you for that.
I'm just going to go grab a glass of juice or something.
Understood.
Well, glasses to syrup.
Is he sipping the scissor?
Pure codeine.
So this is limonade. It's like it's what they call basically, lemon lime kind of soda, carbonated soda,
and it's brown as it should be.
All sorts of different flavors.
As everything is.
All sorts of different flavors. This is these are orange. This is orange, but you can get all sorts of different lemonades.
Yes, I can.
Lemonades, including tarragon, which is a weird taste.
Yeah, I would guess so.
Very aniseedy.
Yeah.
You're locked into the House Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Okay, we got a lot of questions. I want to remind everybody you can support the show through patreon.com/HalSparks and help us grow the channel, grow our support and our ability to rise other voices, which include, by the way, our dear friend Philip Ittner's new podcast, On the Edge, available on his YouTube channel. Just look him up, Philip Ittner, 1L, 2 T's, and you can watch the latest episode and subscribe to that channel as well. And then, of course, our dear friend Johnny Million has a live stream he does every week, twice a week, 3 times a week, twice a week.
Tuesday and Thursday.
Tuesday and Thursday, yeah, twice a week now. At twitch.tv/It's Johnny Million, and of course on YouTube at the same name. So patreon.com/HalSparks, keep us afloat. And thank you for the super chats and for all the people being lovely about Chud passing. We get her ashes back tomorrow. So yeah, that'll be a tale.
Did you get any like the little paw print?
Yeah. Yeah, they took her paw prints and they tagged her so we know it's her, and we are going to get her made into a diamond. And yeah, you can turn the carbon that is the ashes into a diamond. She's going to be a black diamond. They will make them into a black diamond. So yeah, as KISS fans know, that's kind of crucial. But I'm going to make it into a necklace. Put it on a pendant so my son can wear it. He wants to have it so she can be with him. So, and that, yeah. There we go. Now, before I start crying again, what's a good question, Johnny Million?
You're gonna wear this, Camden, whether you like it or not.
Right. Put it on. Where? Yeah.
Where's your necklace?
Mm-hmm.
All right. This is from Ed's 3D Tech. Can you ask Philip about which planes are coming to Ukraine, French or USA made?
Well, we've just heard about the Mirage. What is the Mirage? I've forgotten which designation the French have just announced, but it's their fourth generation fighter, I want to say. So that's good that they're going to start getting Mirages.
It's the 2005. It's the 2000-5.
It's the 2000. I'm just looking
2000?
it up. I'm just looking it up as well.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Dassault Mirage 2005. Yeah. Which is a fantastic fourth generation fighter. I believe it's fourth generation. I don't think it's fifth.
No,
but
I think we're the only ones that have those.
I think we're the only ones. Yeah, and we're about to get the F-16s. Well, I correct myself here. The F-16s are about to start flying. I would not be terribly surprised if there are already F-16s in Ukraine.
Right.
But whether or not they're going to start flying anytime soon, I don't know. Because also, you have to have infrastructure to maintain them if they get damaged or just out of sheer use. Those things are absolute beasts. They are, they need to be maintained every time they come on the ground. Come back down from a mission. They got to. It's how like precise the guys are with Formula 500
vehicles.
These really, really precise machines that need to, everything has to be maintained perfectly all the time. So there's that for the F-16s. That's going to need to be in place before they can really start flying in earnest. There's been some issue with training. It's not been as quickly as folks here in Ukraine would like, but there are enough. So I think we'll start seeing F-16 planes flying. The F-16 are all pretty much. They are U.S. made. I think we have a couple of factories overseas that may contribute to their production, but we sell them to our European partners in NATO. They're the ones that are giving a good chunk of the F-16s that are going to be coming here. So while they are American made, they are EU contributions. But yeah, it's mostly U.S., but we're getting them from a lot of European powers, and then of course, obviously, as I mentioned, this very recent, within the last day or two, announcement by France to start providing the Mirage 2000F jets, yeah, and they'll have to train those pilots as well and everything like that. So, yeah, it's a little frustrating yet again because it is this kind of like incremental step towards getting this country to win this war, but it's if that's the way it's going to go, then sadly, then that's the way it's going to go. I contend that we should just, transition from we're going to give you everything you need to continue the war to we're going to give you everything you need to win the war, and that's a marked mental shift. But there you go.
Right.
Where about Ukraine is going to have air dominance. I would not be terribly surprised if Ukraine has air dominance very soon.
Yeah.
There's some significant changes coming to this war. We're going to enter a new phase. It will not be. This will not be the same war in about 2 weeks to a month, maybe 6 on the outside. So I'm saying a month with a 2-week window on either side.
Sure.
This will not be the same war as it has been.
Right.
We'll be in a new phase.
Okay, Johnny, let's grab another question real quick before we get to the.
Yeah, this is from Carl Todd. How long does Phil think the war will go on? That's a popular question.
Right.
I don't know. I really don't. It probably won't end this year. It'll probably be 2025, where it will be the conclusion.
Right.
But having said that, there is also the concern that it could slip into one of these kind of constant low grade, just not frozen conflicts, but one of these conflicts that's just always there, and it's just kind of churning in the background. And there are people here in Ukraine who are very concerned about that. I don't think that's necessarily going to happen because I don't think it's sustainable for Russia to keep, going for years and years and years. But then also, I don't know if there's public sentiment to have European or Western support for Ukraine for years and years and years. So,
and then it's a big game of like financial and emotional chicken that you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then it's long and drawn out, and it will have to go to a lower grade intensity because this is unsustainable at this level for much longer, but it could fall into some kind of like, Korean Peninsula with a DMZ, or it could turn into, kind of the fake war of the beginning of the Second World War, where it was kind of like we pretend to shoot at one another. I don't think those really will happen, but there is a possibility for it. I think that there will be a Ukrainian victory, but I don't think it's going to come this year. It could, because you got to remember there's one big factor in this, and that is Vladimir Putin.
Right.
And if suddenly we wake up and find out he slipped in the shower or fell out of the window, this is all over. This is all over.
Right.
And I say that because not only will Vladimir Putin be out of the equation, but in the chaos that will ensue, Russia will not be able to maintain a war posture here. They'll be too busy back home because things are going to get really chaotic. Because Vladimir Putin made himself the indispensable part of the power structure in Moscow, and when he is suddenly removed, there's going to be a vacuum, and God knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, it is maddening. I mean, it's like I said, it was nice to see the Washington Post kind of finally come clean about how they're talking about how this is just beyond a fool's errand to just absolute idiocy and madness on his part, and how anybody thinks this is even remotely close to a win so far. Even if they manage to keep the territory they have, the cost of it and its worth is absurd, because there is no going back to business as usual with Russia after this because of what it took to do it. Because, again, who's going to trust a country that is willing to waste 500,000 of its own citizens just for a slice of land, again, that they could have leased? Just like, who are you doing business with? Who are you traveling to visit? Who are you engaging with? Who are you sharing in investments with? You got to understand that would be a permeate ethics, or their ethics and their morals and their ideas and their ability to kind of have logic and reasoning is not going to drift away from that. They're not going to come up with a really bad war plan, but then be fantastic at I don't know, art and science and all that other stuff. Like it's across the board at the Kremlin that these guys have either increasingly just become nuts or stupid, or it's just come to the surface, or both, or Putin's got long COVID and brain rot from it. Like at a certain point, it's hard to even tell.
Brain worms.
Son,
maybe?
his intent was to upend the rules-based order that has existed since the end of the Second World War.
Right.
And that if you're a businessman, if you're an investor, the last thing you want is instability, and all Putin has done is create instability. So
yeah, even vulture capitalists think this is too much for them.
No,
that's
Way
kind of
too
amazing.
dangerous.
When you lose those people who really couldn't care less, who like salivate at the idea that if the unemployment rate goes up a full point, 10,000 people commit suicide on average, that kind of idea. They're like, yeah, good, clear out the decks, it frees up traffic. Like, that's how they react. And when those people are like, okay, this is a line too far, it's an incredible shift. I think we got a couple minutes before the break. Do we have one more, Johnny? And then we'll...
Yeah, I've got one from Linda Lou Votes Blue. Does Phil think Putin will ever be held accountable for war crimes?
Oh, my buddy Michaela Kuleba is going to get angry with me if he hears this, but no, he's not. He'll die. He's not going to. He will not face the inside of a courtroom. He's not going to be in The Hague. The Russians aren't going to hand him over. They'll kill him. him.
He'll face.
He will face a form of justice. He will face. I would prefer
not the old-fashioned kind.
Yeah, it'll be frontier justice. It'll be hang 'em high justice. Frankly, I'd prefer if he was in the ICC, because then we could really, really talk about the war crimes that he initiated through this invasion, and not just. And I really do think that when the Russians lose this war, ultimately it will be good for them. But it would be even better if they would have a mirror put up to them and say, this is what you did. Mm-hmm. This is what you did. You guys have got to stop doing this kind of stuff, and you gotta change. Russia has always done this, overexpansion, collapse because of internal strife. Then their empire contracts, and then eventually they heal, and another power center of gravity comes to power in Moscow, and then they try to expand back again. This cycle has been going on for centuries, and it kind of, it's one of the major destabilizing factors in Europe, and it's got to stop. So I'm hoping, and this is not just me. This is, look at Professor Snyder's out of Yale.
Yeah,
has a great speech about this, or a lecture about this, about how actually. And for an empire to lose a colonial war ultimately improves the country who loses its status as empire, and Russia has to do that. So
I will say that
I don't think Putin will be in a courtroom.
Yeah, I don't even know if he's aware of whatever strategy they have right now. I think that it's all over the place, and again, it's that sort of the chaos reasoning. On the one hand, apparently there's a limited ROI on chaos, because it's obviously not paying off. He's fortifying democracies and alliances of democracies all over the country, and he's not growing his influence in the world. It's shrinking increasingly. He was asked this week if Russia is. I think the question was, are they going to attack? Does Russia want to attack NATO? Yeah. And he said, they invented that Russia wants to attack NATO. Are you completely out of your mind, stupid? Who invented this? It's nonsense, a delusional dog, the dictator said during a conversation with journalists. Your state media is constantly talking about nuking Berlin. So, I don't know where we got the idea. Also, they were putting troops closer and closer to the Finnish border, all while the Ukrainian war has been going on, to the point where Finland's only response was to join NATO to protect themselves, and it was the only was a holdoff. He goes, there is no such threat of us attacking NATO. We defend ourselves in Ukraine, and I got to say that sentence alone is amazing. Defend ourselves in someone else's country. That if that doesn't sum up the absolute puckered BS of this entire lie that they sell. We defend ourselves in Ukraine. I mean, this is
and you also have to understand that it's not just that they might roll tanks down the streets of Warsaw or that they would fly bombers over Piccadilly. What will happen if they win in Ukraine is they will be emboldened and they will be in a military posture to threaten Europe, and so they will intimidate Europe to do its bidding. Mm-hmm. This is Russian dominance over Europe is what they definitely intend to have, and whether or not that actually means that Russian troops would be marching in Paris, no, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a resurgent Russia that has disproportionate power over Europe, which is not only power like soft power, where they've got their mafia guys and they've got their messing with politics and what have you, and the information war. But they always have tanks and a nuke that they can saber rattle, and so they'll intimidate Europe. And that's unacceptable.
Right. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this with the happy ending. It's the House Parks radio program, Mega Worldwide. I don't know if this is a happy ending. It's certainly curious. We'll be back. Where did I go? Okay.
I would join you for your Chud memorial, but that's the middle of the night here, so I'm probably
understood.
Gonna be asleep.
Fear not.
I'll be with you in spirit.
Thanks. Yeah, I got it. Okay. Bringing some stuff up. And chat room, thank you guys so much, by the way. What do we have in here that I missed? They're going by. Thanks for coming for the memberships. Somebody was gifting memberships. Really appreciate that. And Chandra, thank you so much for the super chat as well. And again, Hal Vickery, thank you so much. And Boston Brian, that's really awesome. Thank you, sir. And Jerry, thank you. Appreciate it.
We're back in 20.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Facebook, you guys can give stars to support the show, I think, is the thing how that works. I'm always, whatever. And I've started a Substack that I'm going to start putting on.
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together, whether the weather is cloudy or breezy. I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. Because isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you, chugga chugga choo choo, woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together, whether the weather is cloudy or stormy. I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yay! Hooray!
Welcome back. So
people really want your shirt, Hal.
Oh, they do? This is I think this is on. I think it's on the Twitch channel. It's embroidered, so they can embroider things on the Twitch on the Twitch store, and so it's an embroidered one. So it's nice. I have to say, washing it is difficult because it curls up because it's thicker than the rest of the shirt. So it's a prototype. I always order like one of the shirts when I make one to see if it washes and wears well before I post it. Some, sadly, I was like, this is a good design and it's kind of cool, but it's not. It won't last, whatever. This will last forever. This thing's not going anywhere. But, anyways, I think I guess part of my happy ending is that there's this recurring story, and I don't know why it came up in the Daily Mail this week, but about this story that Russia tried to create humanzees as a race of super soldiers. In the early 1900s, I mean, this Ilya Ivanov guy, he was convinced he was going to be able to create, and Stalin liked the idea because it was like all the rage and monstrosity of a soldier, none of the compassion. So the idea is that they were going to release these monkey soldiers into battle, and they would just tear people to pieces like armies of chimps. When I got to be honest, not far from that now. Also, I don't know that you do realize they might turn around and come back the other way. That's one of the reasons why. It's why we don't use.
They have a weird history in Russia.
Yeah.
Of having some really kooky science.
Yes.
Like they do some really kind of weird, like mysticism kind of mixed with science sort of stuff. So I can definitely believe that.
Yeah, Stalin was entranced by the idea that hybridization between apes and humans held the potential for breeding a new race of uncomplaining. That's a great word, specifically super soldiers, and that in recent years he goes. They held the potential for breeding a new race of uncompassionate super warriors for the Red Army, unafraid of death and untempered by compassion. Untempered. Can you imagine? Like that's a Russian leadership wet dream about soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
Can't we just have people that are untempered by compassion? That's a brilliant idea. Here's a good idea. Let them police your streets first. Then see how that works. What? Oh God, so funny. Yeah. They all the attempts, they never were successful, thank God. But one of their attempts, they went to Africa and tried to convince women to be impregnated with chimpanzee embryos, which is so very Russian.
Oh, that is so. And of course, it would be Africa that they would go to.
Yep, of course. That's the thing.
Yeah, for all their lip service of like, oh, we are going to protect the people of Africa against the big bad mean European colonialism.
Right.
It is still very much this, these kind of subhumans that need protection from the European colonialism.
That's right.
And we don't really care about these people. What we care about is depriving our European rivals their colonies.
Yeah, or of a resource.
It's just so blatantly racist.
Yeah. It's just mind-numbingly awful.
Really bad.
Yeah, and it, like, again, I'm seeing
with no self-consciousness of it.
No,
none whatsoever.
And again, this is a bit of a Schadenfreude version of it, but this is an article just from 2 minutes ago. Tens of thousands of casualties. Russia's failed Ukraine offensive fuels international support for Kyiv. This is just a brand new story. The Russian Federation's latest attempt to assert military dominance in Ukraine has taken a severe toll with a failed offensive in Kharkiv Oblast, leading to a staggering number of casualties and minimal territorial gain. Despite attempts to progress in Ukraine's Donbass region, Moscow's military endeavors have resulted in tens of thousands of Russian troops lost in combat, deaths, injuries, and captures included. In the month of May, the Russian military launched a significant offensive aimed at Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city. This offensive was not only intended to seize the city, which lies a mere 25 miles from the Russian border, but also to stretch Ukrainian defensive capabilities. However, this operation has ended in what appears to be a severe setback for Russian forces. Ukrainian counterattacks have not only blunted the Russian advance, but have also reclaimed some of the lost territories. And the only reason they made the advance in the first place was because Mike Johnson and Kevin McCarthy and Marjorie Taylor Greene and the rest of their ilk were holding back the weapons that allowed them to get the toehold they had. And it resulted not only in the unnecessary deaths of Ukrainians, but the unnecessary deaths of Russian soldiers, if that's what they pretend to care about. These people just ran into
and I mean all for a stretch of land that is maybe the size of maybe a large metropolitan area, like the size of Chicago, and that's probably being too big. Yeah, I mean, they all those dead, and they have achieved really, really small advances on the battlefield.
Right. None of them maintainable because they don't have the forces to fight urban warfare and keep everybody.
That's right, and
you can't hold the city once you have it.
They're in firing distance now of Ukrainian artillery as well. So, Russia cannot win here. It's not possible. They can maybe hold on to the land bridge. That is the best thing that they can hope to do. And I don't think they're even going to be able to do that. They can hold on to the land bridge, and they can hold on to their naval base in Crimea. And in order to do that, they'll have to have the entire peninsula. If they can hold on to that, that's the best that they can hope for. And I doubt they'll even get that. This is a disastrous move for Russia. It is the death of empire. Vladimir Putin cannot survive this defeat. I mean, Tsar Nikolai, the last Tsar of the Romanovs, before the collapse of the Russian, empire, he was ousted in no small part because of his defeat in the Russo-Japanese War, which was nothing compared to this.
Right.
Minuscule compared to this. This is disastrous for Russia, and they cannot win here as long as the West remains resolved. They cannot win here, and even if the West did suddenly withdraw their support, there would still be a massive insurgency that we're just going to sit on the sidelines as like a genocide happens in Ukraine. I don't think so either. We need to realize that we need to make this country win, give them all the means that they have, that we can, for them to defeat. That's the fastest way to win this war, is to help Ukraine win the war, not sustain the war, win the war. And that's what General Ben Hodges and I discuss on The Edge this week, which will be coming out, premieres on Sunday, 9:00 Pacific time, 12:00 Eastern. We'll be doing this episode.
Yeah. Excellent.
And he's good. He was great. It's our first remote interview. I think he came out looking good. And it's a good conversation. So, and we touch on all these topics.
Excellent. Well, on that note, we will wrap up, and I appreciate everybody joining us every Saturday for the Houseparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. I will be regularly streaming this week. I have the Jam on Tuesday, and Nerd Halen is playing the Whiskey on Saturday of next week. But other than the Tuesday show, should be regular programming as per usual. And I'm going to be vocally exhausted by the end of the week, just in time to go to Denver, City by the Bay, to do the Sexy Liberal show. Sound off in the chat room if you're going there. And then, of course, the night, I think after that, it's the Sunday night after that, we're doing Nerd Halen in Denver at HQ, which is a club there in town. So we're going to piggyback some gigs on top of these things so that I can totally burn myself to the ground and wear myself out. But anyways, appreciate you, Phil. Thank you so much. Be safe and really enjoying On the Edge. People need to subscribe. Same to Johnny Million's Twitch channel. Subscribe over there. Help him a little bit as well. And thank you guys for your support. I love you. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you, Chicago.
Thank you, Chicago.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, sorry for the tooth pull this morning. I'm like, but they got on and we're good, and we should be good, and this link should be fine for the foreseeable future. So lock it in. Yeah. Yeah. Although I did fix the internet issues in my house and the other stuff, so I might not need a proxy to do it, but it's best for everybody if we're using one, because it finds your way around the barriers that are in the interwebs a lot easier as far as video and audio goes. So hopefully, fingers crossed. So, but thank you guys in the chat room. Hit that like, and I'm going to go pick up an ice cream cake for my kid's belated birthday party that we're having with the fam this afternoon, because he's now
there you go.
He's 13, and I'm super excited about it. Yeah.
And he needs Uncle John to show him how to eat an ice cream cake.
That's true. He needs a professional.
All the ones that throw the box away. You're not a quitter.
Oh, yes. And tomorrow, I will be going to the Trump rally here in Vegas. I have a ticket. And
can't believe he's doing that in the open air.
Outside at noon. It's going to be 108 tomorrow. Yeah.
100 and
He's gonna look
outside.
great.
Like a
he's
fuck, and he's going to make everybody.
Well, yeah, but he can't get a venue. He can't get a venue. Who's
he
going
can't get any place
rent
that's
a venue
indoors.
to that guy?
Right, because he doesn't pay his bills.
So they won't pay his bills.
And there's not a mega church here that he could just co-opt, which is what he did.
Right.
That's what he's doing with the fucking Turning Points USA. That's what they do. They just co-op mega churches. They just use the facility for free, and or pay a stipend.
100. It's gonna 108.
Yeah.
Noon.
And he's going to have his
Vegas.
people outside at noon. The fucking thing is at
What do you think
noon.
he's going to do for himself so that he's comfortable? Do you think they'll just be like a little like pod of just air conditioners blowing on him?
I think somebody's going to be there with a fire hose, just pouring water over him. He'll be just giving the entire speech while he'll look like
Flash dance.
They are, yeah.
What a dystopian, twisted vision
God.
of
Don't ruin that
Flash
image
dance.
for me.
I with the chair. Can you see the silhouette of Trump on the chair?
And I can't see the
pulling
chair.
down the water. Just it's enormous.
That's
Jabba the Hutt figure. Pulling,
right.
Instead of Jennifer Beals with her beautiful body.
Oh my God.
Donald Trump.
Well, her dance model that she had also, because she had a
body double in that movie.
Yeah, she did for a lot of it. But whenever the lights are out and you can't see her directly, she could dance, but not like a girl who would
not like a professional dancer.
Boogie her way.
Not
into
like
ballet
Donald J.
school.
Trump.
Yeah,
not
right.
like Trump.
Nobody dances
she can
like
dance, but not like Trump.
So what? So let's dance.
Any way you want it,
that's the way you need it. Yeah.
Painful,
I can't
painful.
he's just gonna be sweating like a pig.
Oh, it's gonna be
And here's
awful.
the thing, it's bad enough. Like it's shitty. Seriously, it's shitty doing that to your own people, making them stand outside.
Mm-hmm.
But if he gives a normal length speech in that heat, and he's outside, dude is fucked.
Well, didn't you had people dropping in Arizona?
Yeah,
right?
like 50 people went to the hospital with heat stroke. And this is
selfish.
And that was an inside thing. Those are the people waiting in line.
Yep, those are
these
waiting
people
in line.
got inside and were in air
Dropping like
conditioning.
flies. Yeah, there's no
fucking
AC in this.
Stupid.
Oh my God, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah,
it's going to be an absolute disaster.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to like one of the stores here in Vegas and buy one of those little misting hats that looks like an umbrella and just drops water on you around there, and just like have just a spray bottle of water and going, hey, I hate who you're voting for, but you like a spritz of water in your face to cool you off or whatever. Ice cold water from a Biden voter. Ice cold water from a Biden voter. Ice cold water from I'll do it. Why not? I'll stop by the grocery store, pick up a couple of things of water, and hand them out.
Jesus, God, it's pathetic.
I love ice cream cake.
Yeah, all right. I gotta go get the ice cream cake. You're right. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Enjoy the ice cream cake and have a good memorial.
Thank you,
I
brother.
probably won't be there, but
understood.
All right.
Appreciate it, brother.
All the best. Take care.
Appreciate
talk
it.
to you on Wednesday.
Okay.
Later.
Bye. There they go, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for watching Health Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide. I'm on every Saturday. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, etc., etc., etc. And I am adding a thing, working on it, that will allow me. Chatter asking if you're going to go to the Trump rally. Oh, yes. And I don't know if I'll be able to stream from it, but I will be recording with my 360 camera. My 360 camera, because it will record both sides, both me and the other person, and I can, it's the easiest way I can think of to get footage of it. And then I'll get a selfie stick for my phone just in case. But this is, So at some point, I may be able to take calls from the Discord about that we can put in, use that as the call line. I'm working on it. It should work. I've seen it happen. There's always an issue with a loop. I will have to test it a couple of times. I may have a test stream coming up in the near future where I might be on at a weird time just to work on some shit. So that I can talk to people in the Discord, because I now have a button on my thing that allows me to use a talkback feature that sends my mic to there and allows me to hear from there, so we can treat it like a phone call. That would be so cool. So I'm working on it. Anyways, use your show. Okay. Yes, I'll use you as my episode that I take down. I'll do a takedown of it. Deposit Brian show. Anyways, much love to you guys. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time if this button works. Hit the like, everybody, on your way out if you would.